Shopping malls and stores in the US are hoping for brisk holiday sales to continue after a successful record-breaking Thanksgiving weekend and also a boost in consumer sentiment. To discuss his views on US consumer confidence at the moment ahead of the non-farm payroll report, I'm joined by David Resler. He's a Chief Economic Advisor from Nomura Securities International in New York. Well, David, US consumer confidence bounced back significantly better than expected from a two-year low in November, and there's also been a lot of news regarding the positive Thanksgiving weekend sales figures. It appears like the US is finally starting to see a return of restored consumer confidence to the market. But do you think this is likely to last? What were your forecasts like at Nomura?
We believe that the economy is definitely turned toward stronger growth in the second half of the year after an abysmal first half performance. And that had been our expectation for several months. We were and remain concerned that the crisis in Europe could generate and pull down the global economy with it, and the U.S. under those circumstances would also suffer. But we're impressed that the U.S. consumer spending seems to be holding up reasonably well in the second half of the year. And I think that the rebound in consumer confidence from a very, very low reading last month is an encouraging sign that people are starting to sense that the economy is not quite as bad off as is commonly perceived.
So in relation to the record-breaking sales of last weekend, do you think it suggests that consumers with jobs still remain willing to spend frivolously, or was it consumers desperately trying to grab a bargain and save on some cash?
Well, I think one ongoing theme of the U.S. consumer over the last several decades has been the increasing price sensitivity of consumer spending. Consumers will buy when there are bargains there, and if not, they're probably going to stay on the sidelines. And we had retailers offering bargains that were kind of unprecedented. This was a extraordinary Black Friday event in some stores starting it as early as 6 o'clock at night on Thursday, rather than just after midnight or in the wee hours of the morning that has been more typical. And the bargains on offer were quite considerable, enough to entice more people to the stores, and it seems like once in the stores, shoppers were willing to buy. What we don't know is whether or not some of this is going to come at the expense of sales that otherwise would have occurred later in the season.
You mentioned the price of goods just now. Holiday sales represent a large percentage of America's annual sales, so shoppers are obviously still more likely to see an aggressive marketing push in the coming weeks. Because the kind of economic situation the US is experiencing right now, in terms of spending, like you said, the price is obviously a critical component at the moment, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. When income growth has been as constrained as it has been in the last couple of years by the high unemployment and weak job market, it's almost imperative that people find price bargains where they can in order to stretch their lower incomes.
Moving on to unemployment now, we've got the all-important non-farm payrolls data coming out at the end of the week. What can we expect to see? Any nasty surprises in store, or a reasonable increase in the number of workers on payroll?
Well, I hope it's not a nasty surprise. We're expecting to see a moderate increase in overall payrolls of about 140,000, I should say, and about 150,000 of those coming from private sector job growth. We think the unemployment rate's likely to stay stuck at 9%, although hold out some hope that it could edge down to 8.9. But we're not looking for discouraging news on the job front, but more something that's a little bit on the encouraging side. Now, it's important to bear in mind that if we want to make serious headway on lowering the unemployment rate, we're going to have job growth double what I just mentioned for several months running to make a serious dent in the unemployment rate. And unfortunately, we don't see that in the offing.
Thank you very much, David. Great to get your opinion on the matter. Now stay tuned to Dukas Copy TV for more exclusive interviews and editions of Targets in Focus. Goodbye for now.